Ian Hathcock, it's wonderful to get to meet you and to see that you are participating in this pretty amazing book, Golden Wisdom of Love, Legends and Legacies. What inspired you to participate in this book?
Well, first, Becky, I'd like to say thank you for having me. I'm excited about this opportunity to add the chapter and to talk about it. What inspired me? Well, one, my mom. She's
Of
always been a
course.
writer and always telling me I need to write. Uh, but but more of I wanted to share our story. And as you read our story, if you've read our story, it's more of a love story.
It is.
Um, yeah, and it didn't start out that way, but that's how it came out from my heart. So from the heart to the hand, and kind of hit the paper that way. And there's just a lot of valuable lessons I've learned along the way that I wanted to be able to impart to others and kind of get that out into the world and see where it went from there.
There's a certain amount of magic that happens when you start putting pen to paper and having to really collect those thoughts and to put it in a way that makes sense on paper because we speak differently than when we write most of the time.
Yeah,
There has to be a lot more concise because people can't watch the facial expressions, that can't catch the nuances in speaking as they do in reading. Yeah.
that's the truth.
Yeah.
And what's great about writing too is you get to go back and edit it. Once those
You
words come out of your mouth, they're already out there. It's
can't
hard to
edit
take it
as
back.
you scratch that one. I didn't mean that.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
yeah, but you're right. There's something very raw and organic about it, and I found that I could put 1,500 words on a piece of paper quickly, but thoughtful, introspective words that flow and are congruent. That was a lot more, and so I spent a lot of time up in my head before I could get that out into the paper, and but yeah, the whole process I just really enjoyed it, and I enjoy that opportunity to kind of just be still and be silent and kind of lean into God and see what He has for me to share and tap into our source. And so the whole process, everything about it was really a great
That's
thing.
beautiful. That's amazing. And so when somebody picks up your chapter, or when they pick up the book, they get to your chapter, what do you hope they gain from reading your chapter?
Yeah, great question. So, like I said, it didn't start out as a love story, so I hope they enjoy the story. But the heart of it isn't my heart, my wife's heart. The heart of it is really, I think that I'd like to share is to change one thing is to change everything. So everything has purpose. Everything we do has meaning. The words we say, the words we write, how big or small they are, they all have impact. And that's really what I hope to share in this, that God doesn't waste anything. He uses all things. And we might see something as very minor, or we might see something as very hard and very challenging. And because we're only able to see what's in front of us, but what does that real journey look like? And what is the difference when we get a mile down the road? What does that really look like then? Because holding out for hope is what we have to do at times. Having
Mhm.
faith and stepping into the blind, we have to do that. And if we don't, we stay stuck in where we are. Even if we don't like where we are and we want change, we stay stuck there. So to be
Yes.
able to let go of that, right, and just kind of step out and whatever your faith is, to be able to lean into that and take that journey, because it's hard, but it's really beautiful on the other side. And that's what I really wanted to be able to share when I was writing my story.
That's beautiful. Yes, this has been quite a project, to bring this book to the world and the passion your mom has had. It has rubbed off on you and your siblings. I've got to meet a couple of you, and she does shine and lead by example.
Yeah,
Very much.
absolutely. Yeah, she does. As a child, I would tell her, "Mom, I don't want you to be positive. I just want to be bad right now." Honey, I just can't do that. And now I have the same conversations with my children. Yeah, just let me do this. No, I'm sorry, I can't let you do this.
Can't let you do
Can't
that.
let you do that. I know what that poison looks like. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So, what do you do in the world today? How do you serve in this world and make a difference?
Yeah. So, as a profession, I am a director of sales and operation for a company who we're a cell phone carrier uh, primarily, but we also build internet. And so, sounds pretty basic, but we serve the Navajo, tribal lands, White Mountain Apache, Zuni, Hopi, and we're in the rural areas of Arizona, New Mexico, Colorado. So we're building infrastructure in the place where there's a void. And the pandemics brought it to life, and they call it the digital divide. And it's the have and the have nots, right? So if you lived in a community that was relatively built out well, that had some infrastructure and you had internet, there's a good chance that you probably were able to keep your job and work from home or find another job.
Right.
However, right, so if you're in the rural communities or you're on tribal lands, which are very rural and very
Very.
underserved, yeah. So what do? You're an artisan who makes jewelry and you go and you do shows. Well, there's no more contact, but I don't have any internet to put my stuff online and to sell that. We take it a step further, and our biggest clients are schools and hospitals. And
Wow.
so schools shut down,
Yeah.
and we were their internet provider, but the internet was at the school, and the homes were 30 miles into the desert, and there was nothing. So we had to build a product that we can get into the kids' hands, and they can continue to go to school online. We had to build products for hospitals in these rural areas that they can continue to see patients through telehealth and online. And so in the world and the way we serve is that we really call ourselves bridge builders, right? We're building that bridge across the digital divide. I've had the opportunity to do it for 13 years now, and we've served over 20,000 students. We've seen the impact it makes in their lives. When we first started going into the schools and seeing them, they didn't have the same fundamental education opportunity that the kids in the city do, and because they didn't have the infrastructure. And through a lot of hard work and a lot of great teammates, we've been able to really separate that and bring them into where the same four walls they see are the same as the kids in the city now. And they're not limited in opportunity. And what's really cool about that is they're not limited in opportunity. They can grow where they are and they can build up their community. So
That's
I take a lot of passion in what I do. Yeah.
that's beautiful because it's something you don't really think about. If you live in the city, you don't think about that is such a huge issue. And yet, my husband and I have kids that live in Farmington, New Mexico. And you drive across that desert and you for miles and miles and miles and see all the remoteness of where people are living, and you think about that, but you don't realize because you don't live there. You haven't lived in those situations.
Yeah, you're
Wow.
exactly right. Yeah, and it's interesting. Farmington's part of our territory because of the rural areas in between it, and
Yeah,
I spent a fair amount of time up in that area. Yeah. So I believe in anything you do. If it's a profession, you have to have purpose beyond the paycheck. At some point, we're all going to feel I'm undervalued, I'm underpaid, I'm not. But if you have a
true.
passion in what you do, that's going to go beyond that paycheck. It's going to drive you, and you don't get up and think about how much I'm going to make on Friday. You get up and you think about what kind of difference can I make today. Uh,
Hmm.
that goes a long way. It transcends to our personal life. We have 7 kids, and so we stay very busy and active in them. We average about 5 to 7 games a week between volleyball and football, with
Wow,
5 of them
you
are in
are
sports.
busy.
Yeah. So, how can we impact the kids, and how can we breathe into their life, and how can we lead? And so we spend time in the community working that way, and trying to make an impact with our kids and their friends and the sports they're in, to being involved in our church. And I think to make a difference, you have to be involved and you have to have a voice. And if you're not,
Absolutely.
yeah. So if you're not outgoing, you're not outspoken, there's still a role for everybody to play to make a difference. And so, yeah, we try to use our giftings that God gave us to impact others in a positive way.
Wow. Very, very beautiful. What an amazing, because I've interviewed all of the authors, and well, not all of them. There's some that couldn't do the interviews, but the majority that are in the book. Today, I interviewed one lady that was 94.
Oh, wow.
Amazing. And
Yeah.
I'm just looking at her like, whoa. And she clear headed and just right on, spot on. And then another gentleman, 90 years old. And, their view on life. And, like the gentleman that's in his 90s, he had quite a setback in life, but his attitude is just nothing but happy, and wanting to make others happy. So
Oh, cool.
I'll let you read this chapter. I won't tell you what it's about, but it's interesting.
Yeah, I do. Keep us surprised. Well, that's so cool. But yeah, how much wisdom we can gain through the life we live, and keeping that positive attitude. That's everything, right?
Absolutely. Thank you so much for being the you that you are and for serving in the world the way you do. It's so vital, and we each carry a role. We all have
Yeah.
choices to make and a role to play.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, absolutely my pleasure. And thank you for taking the time to sit down and talk with me
it's
and give me the
awesome.
opportunity to share. Yeah.
All right. Well, I look forward to the day I can meet you in person. I'm sure with knowing your mom, I'm sure that day will come.
Hope it
And
does.
we will have celebrations, with this book launching and a lot of good activity going to be taking place. So,
Yeah, looking forward to it.
all right. Delightful to meet you.
You as well. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. All right, bye-bye.